final speaker of the evening is Thomas Clooney, and I would like to ask his evaluator, Justin Lawler, to please stand and give us the objectives of this presentation.
Evening, fellow Toastmasters and Miss Welcome guests. Thomas's speech, he is giving number 5 in the Competent Communicator Manual, which is Your Body Speaks. His objectives are: use stance, movement, gestures, facial expressions, and eye contact to express your message and achieve your speech's purpose. Make your body language smooth and natural. He is speaking 6 to 8 minutes, Madam.
Thank you, Justin. Thomas studied for 3 years at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. He discovered that it was necessary to learn to speak, sing, move, dance in long tights, and improvise. Tonight you will learn about Laban movement. Rudolf van Laban created a set of 8 basic effort actions. For instance, to press, thrust, slash, ring, glide, float, flick, or dab. Please help me welcome Thomas with basic effort actions.
I will move this. Or an action. Believe it or not, this man called Laban, he was a dancer at one time. Don't know too much about him. He actually thought about the movements he used. Now, way back, Leonardo, we know, took corpses apart to discover how they were built to help him with his paintings. But he struck it down to these basic 8. Do you remember them? Well, let's go through them. And what I'm suggesting tonight, we have a very dynamic speaker, Cordelia, who spoke with a lot of energy, but he was really driving a point. What I'm going to do is sprinkle some seeds, and maybe some of this will sprinkle up and pervade your thoughts. A lot of people stand at the audience in Toastmasters, they kind of like that. They have one action, no movement at all. Others, like you're a bit of a thruster in my 8 times. Let me go through them as examples. The first one is press. Now, when we think about it, there's a word press, or the presser, but when we press, we actually do it in several ways. There's the physical one. If I was to exert motion on you physically, like a wrestler might, or a very large man, that's one. Then there's also the emotional way you do it, and there's also the physical way you do it. That's what I'm really evoking, the physical way it's done. The presser, be an example, would be a large heavyweight. That would be a boxer or a wrestler. But it could also be a very powerful man who just speaks very quietly. In Joel Schultz's phrase about the foreign secretary, most, he says, shout loud and carry a very small stick. It's better to carry a large stick and speak very quietly. Then they tend to read your language and pay attention. The next one is your type, I think, the thruster. Now, if we look at the motions, the thrust is simply that. With a swords person, for example, or a direct punch, that's a thruster. And if we move on from that, we look at that and the actions we see people around us. You're a bit like that. Some of your forces, your movement is very powerful and very direct. I think you want it that way. There's another type that leads on from that, and it's called, what do you believe? The slasher. And the slasher goes like this. This, if he was a knife, he'd be Jack the Ripper. But you see what I'm saying? If you just consider this, the way people move, and if you think about someone in the room, I just gave a couple of examples, and there's other people, what is their body type, or how do they move? I'm dealing with the stronger ones at the moment. What have we done? The presser, the thruster, the slasher. The last one of the strong one is the ringer. Now, if you imagine a towel in the old days before we had washers and dryers, they put the heavy clothing and they put it through this ringer and they would crank it around to squeeze the water out. You think about people like that. And another way you ring is people do it with anxiety. And then you think about the facial expression. Or the wrestler would too, putting that choke on. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go to the softer side. We always talk about hard sell and soft sell. You gave a real hard sell in your speech, and I consider the future doing the soft sell. We'll talk about the soft sell. One would be a balloon. You know, people like this, a balloon, it just floats. Floats. And whatever the wind blows, it's going to move it. And you know people like that too. They don't have a lot of substance, or whatever their personality type is. Often they're very soothing and easy to get along with. They'll be like that. God, I remember, please. The glider. Well, I have done gliding with a plane, but there's another glider, personified by the kind of guy that moves like this. Dances. Picks up tips. Works in Las Vegas. That's one, so you can consider that. And another one is the, well, I already covered the floater and the glider. Then we get down to the flicker. The flicker might even be just, if he's a powerful guy, it might just be, well, take care of it.
Oh.
See that gesture with the eyebrow? Raise the eyebrow. And the last one's a dabber. And they're going around dabbing on things. I hope it made some sense. When I went to drama school, somebody came in my second year there and they taught us about this. And then we used to go out and they would say, you do all these exercises, you have all these tights on and stuff, and you make these very extreme. But then when you play a part and you've got to play someone, one of these types, and the character could be several blends, several types. You just take a little of that into consideration. So I offer it to you. Many people when I see in Toastmasters, I'd say their physical skills are pretty basic. You could expand it a lot more. Same with our vocal one. We don't go up and down enough. Soft voice, loud voice, same thing. We did this because drama, you've got to act it up, you've got to do very large dramatic things. But I think it would still help you. We know very, very well, and I've seen this more than once, some people build in speech, you see this in politics, they'll go, if you believe this. I saw Al Gore do this technique. If you believe this, and he raises his voice. And he does this action too, a slasher action. If you believe this, if you believe this, if you believe this, then pause, you must take this action. And the whole audience stood up and applauded. So it does work. But that, I call you to action.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Please give our speaker 2 minutes or your. And at this time, I'd like to invite Justin Lola up to present his evaluation for Thomas's presentation.
Evening again, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I thought Thomas did a fantastic job. Actually, I think this is one of your best speeches. Because you started out moving the left turn, so you can talk to us, you can engage with us. I was looking for your tights though. I wanted to see those tights. Because when I was growing up, I also was a dancer. That's another speech.
We expect it.
I got a video. Well now.
You were awesome, Thomas. You had such great gestures when you were explaining or describing the different 8 movements. And then your voice inflections, I mean, everything you were saying, you were emphasizing, what they were, and you emphasized how important they were. And you gave great examples, for example, the presser, the slasher, the thruster, right? It was amazing because I can picture it, I could see it, and I can touch it. So you were awesome. We were all engaged, obviously, because of that, because of your gestures, because of your actions. And I liked your ending, call to action. And it's so true, because in Toastmasters, we are a lot standing still. We're not moving around very much. We're not engaging with the audience because we're not comfortable doing so. We're not. Some of us are a little bit more comfortable. Some of us are getting there. So, open it up to the rest.
Thomas, I appreciate these ideas because it really does help us to identify different ways that we could move our bodies that are specific. I would have loved to have heard you give us a personal, not for you, but a person as an example, like you did for Al Gore. That was really clear, and then we could identify this, but maybe try and track down somebody, some actor or politician or whatever that uses that movement, because we could probably then easier identify with what that looks like. That might be a suggestion.
Thank you, Paul. Tyree first.
Make sure you didn't call Randy. Thomas, your metaphorical devices really compound your gestures with the language of the primary talking points. So that was masterfully done. You have tremendous knowledge, and for me, your area of improvement, which was obvious, committed all these things to memory. I think you can do that. But the other thing would be if you recap each of these movements in your conclusion. I think that would have really brought everything together. Aside from that, this is my stretch goal for you, that I think you could give us all value as well as develop your future speeches. Give a speech on each one of these movements. Make it a series of speeches for us. And I think you would learn, we would get that knowledge, and I think we could all grow to be better speakers. I'd like to.
Randy.
Thank you, Justin. 2 points. When you started your speech, you mentioned some guy named Louis. But then you said, I didn't know very much about the guy. Now, considering you studied at the Royal Academy of London, the London Academy, oh, such a Royal. Considering you studied him, I would have expected that you would have some background information about it. But if you didn't, I wouldn't have said that, kind of deterred from credibility. You know, clearly you know your subject. In fact, it's a fascinating subject. Because I was looking it up on the internet once you started, so a lot of information. But keep in mind that it was a great subject. I enjoyed it a lot. I got a lot out of your speech. But I also wanted to know a little background on it.
Thank you, Randy. 30 seconds, go
30
ahead, Eddie.
seconds, I'll be quick. Actually, there was a demonstration of the thruster when Thomas pointed to
Yes.
Ovidilio, talked about some other gestures and pointed to Tyree, and Al Gore. So we did have 3 examples,
Yes.
and I kind of wish with all these, the presser, the slasher, the ringer, the floater, the glide, all of these were great, wonderful imagery words, and I kind of wish you focused on 3 of them with the anecdotes or the examples that you gave tonight, and then recapped on the grocery list of other items. But well done, well done.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Thank you. We are going